Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now. Hello everybody and welcome in. Listen, we got a lot of talking this new episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. That was season 15, episode 12. It's a brand new day here in this Portugal trip. Everybody's waking up and Monyetta goes over to Kenya's room and she's filling her in on everything that happened at the pajama party the night before. Kandi was saying that Drew kissed LaToya. Drew denied it. Kandi had a massive freak out, which is very suspicious if you ask me. Like, why is she so invested? Well, it looks like it was so serious that Drew had to call LaToya, and LaToya then called Kandi. It was a mess, child. It was a complete mess. But it really feels like Monyetta the mute is reporting to her boss in that moment, which was Kenya. And of course, Kenya is trying to find any way to blame this on Marlo. Okay, so downstairs at the lobby, Drew comes down and meets Shereé, who's already there. And they talk about the night before. Drew tells Shereé, that Marlo recorded that fight and sent it to LaToya. And then LaToya sent it to Drew. This was so hard to keep up, you guys. So now Drew is mad at Marlo for recording on her iPhone. But then Shereé asks her, well, what do you think about Kandi? Because she's the one that is saying you kissed her, and Kenya is co-signing that you did. And Drew says, excuse me, Kenya wasn't even downstairs that night in South Carolina. She was sleeping, up in her room like an old lady, and everybody else was partying. And I say Kenya has a weird talent of always somehow inserting herself on anything, even if it has nothing to do with her. So that's not a surprise. But Drew makes some very interesting comments. She says that she is finding a lot of things out because Kenya and Kandi are supposed to be her so-called friends, but she's seeing that they can be a little bit shady to her. For the record, Shereé in her confessional thinks that Drew is lying about this kissing thing. Poor Drew, I feel like no one takes her seriously in this cast, honestly. Then a little later, the whole group is together. Kandi left because she has something to do. Of course, we know she doesn't take the show as a priority. We know that by now. And Kenya is still going on about how she's happy that she can walk. Ma'am, you slipped. We've all slipped, okay? She's really milking this, but I am glad she's okay, of course. They get on the van and are going to a sound bath. Something funny did happen in the ride. Monyetta started to rap. That was a little fun moment. And then I'm not sure why, but they had to get off the van and go in two separate vehicles. I'm not sure why. So in one of them is Kenya, Drew, and Monyetta, and then the other one is Marlo, Shereé, Sanya, and Courtney. Speaking of Courtney, Kenya seems to be filling Drew's ear of negative things about Courtney, and that's unfortunate. If you have a problem with someone, you stick with it. Don't try to convert people to have a problem with that person as well. But this is going to play out a little bit more as we go along. But they go to the sound bath, they lay down, they close their eyes, the guy is playing some music, making those sounds, those y'all know how that is. And they did this really cool edit. As they were doing the sound bath and as they were laying down, they sort of morphed the scene into what the women were thinking. So for example, Drew was thinking about Ralph and Sanya was thinking about her sister. It was really well done. And once they are done with that, Shereé says that she felt some peace and tranquility. Then a lady comes for them to meditate. And as they're doing it, out of nowhere, Kenya starts to cry. But she says that she doesn't want to really talk about it right now. But when they all leave, Kenya speaks to the lady who was leading them in the meditation. And Kenya says that she thinks she could help more people. But Brooklyn is such a blessing. And she said, I don't even know what I did to deserve her. She's, such a gift from God. And she was crying real tears. And my heart actually filled in that moment for her. It was really beautiful. Then they head over to lunch. Shereé shares what's going on with her fibroids. And then they serve them meatballs, beans, and rice. And Monyetta has to bring up the night before. So now Kenya is asking the group what happened and Shereé tells her. But the argument turns to Drew and Marlo because Drew is still pissed that Marlo recorded what happened. Now Marlo, let's keep it clear, was not the only person recording. So was Monyetta, but of course they're only mad at Marlo. And Drew's going off. She says to Marlo, let it be the last time. Don't you ever record me. I will flip the table on you and fix your hair and do this and do that. She also says, like, why are you worrying about this? You should be worrying about getting your record expunged. I mean, so many low blows. And Marlo says, well, I work in the same thing as her husband, technology, because Drew was also questioning her career. And Courtney is like, y'all, love and awareness. Like, we just came out of the sound bath. And Kenya says she has a question now. She says to Courtney, is there anything you want to tell Drew about what people said about her last night? The reason Kenya is saying this is because when Monyetta went to go snitch to her in the morning about what happened, she told Kenya that after everybody left, Marlo, Shereé, Courtney, and Sanya were talking bad about Drew. And I guess Kenya then feel like since Courtney is sort of related to her, she should tell her. And then Monyetta there at the table says that she felt like it was a collusion against Drew. And like I said, she's referring to when they were talking about her, it's just too much. But Kenya, who again was not there, she's going off based off on what Monyetta told her, tells Drew, they were talking ish about you. So Courtney gets offended and says, you were not there. Which she's right, Kenya was not there. But then Kenya says, shut up. And Courtney says, and what are you going to do about it if I don't? And they start to fight, but Courtney said, if I'm going to fight, I might as well go low. And she did go low. She tells Kenya, you should be quiet because look at what karma has been doing to you. You've been slipping and busting your butt and you're in the hospital. So she definitely took a low blow. She went a little bit gutter, but she definitely got her point across. And Shereé gets up and says that this is so disrespectful. I'm so embarrassed. We just came out of a sound bath. This is how y'all behaving. And she starts to cry. This trip is a mess. So now Drew is saying, watch out for the snakes that like to record. And then Kenya says, your cousin is the snake. She's making fun of me possibly being paralyzed. If that's not the biggest reach, I don't know what is. Then Drew goes to talk to Courtney. Drew was a little bit more gentle with Courtney since they are, again, somehow related. They call each other cousin. They're not, but and then this lunch was a disaster, but good thing it's over. Then a little bit later, the girls go and change. They look great. At first they were separated. For a little while it was just Shereé, Kenya, Drew, and Monyetta sitting together, and Kenya's still talking about Courtney and says, all I was trying to say is that Marlo was talking about Drew to Courtney. But I'm gonna say one more time, Kenya again needing some drama because she was not there. Monyetta told her. So it kind of feels like Kenya is using something that her lapdog Monyetta told her to blame it on Marlo to create a problem with Drew. It's horrible. But then the entire group eventually meets up to have dinner. It's like nighttime now. Like I said, everybody looked great. Shereé is definitely the mediator of this trip. I think she has really kind of taken the role of the leader, I guess you could say. And they are chatting up some fun banter about Martell and whatnot. Then Kenya asks Drew if she's still in counseling with Ralph, and Drew says they took a break. Kenya also tried to steal Sanya's mojito. I thought it was funny. That was really funny. And then one more time, y'all. This LaToya thing comes up. Sanya tells Monyetta that for her to say that there was a collusion against Drew was just wrong, and Monyetta apologizes, and then Marlo apologizes to Drew if she obviously felt some type of way about her recording, but she says she would still honestly like to know who's telling the truth about the kiss. And Drew says, well, why don't you worry about your lawsuits? And then she says, why don't you worry about if you can pass a drug test? That was pretty vile. I mean, why would you say something like that? Marlo takes it in with humor, which I think it's the best way to do it. She says, oh yes, me and my fake name and this. But she does say, once again, all of my information is online. And since your husband works in technology, he can look me up easily because Drew asked her if she did taxes or what was her job. Look, I think Drew has misdirected anger. I think that's what it is. And maybe she thinks Marlo is the easiest to fight. But Drew, you are the 1,000th person to bring up Marlo's record and past for the 1,000th time. It's old. It's not landing. She's probably numb to it. But Again, Drew, you're the same woman who tried to fight Shereé and you stormed out crying, so come on now. Then Marlo says, well, karma is a bitch, and that's why people are experiencing it. So Monyetta, trying to fight Kenya and Kandi's battles, asks Courtney, what did you say about Kenya? And Kenya says that Courtney is, for the comments that she made about her, that she's heartless, that she has no empathy, that she has no character, that it was a blessing that she even got up. And Courtney says, well, I can tell you a lot of things that you have done that are horrific. And y'all, the producers are clearly up against Kenya this season. They showed flashbacks to all the meltdowns that she has had this season, which Kenya did tweet about that. Matter of fact, she also tweeted that last week and said that she thinks production is being shady towards her and Kandi. That's very interesting. When production starts to turn on you, it says a lot. But Shereé finally shuts it down. Listen, I will say about this whole thing with Courtney and Kenya, I am not a person who will ever be talking about no karma, and I will never in my life wish anything bad on anyone, not even a paper cut. But as far as Courtney and Kenya goes, listen, Kenya ain't no damn angel, okay? And Courtney was defending herself, so oh well. Okay, but then they go to bed and we go to a new day. It's the final day in Portugal. And they go to a wine tasting. So they're enjoying the wine. The energy is great. But Miss Marlo receives a text message from Ralph in that moment. Ralph, Drew's husband, everybody knows. The text from Ralph was saying to her that he heard that she's been saying some disrespectful things and that he let it slide last year, but he does not like it. So Drew clearly went to go snitch to her man. After that dinner, her man, who's somewhere in Vegas allegedly. Man, Drew is so phony. I wouldn't be surprised if everything that came out of her mouth was planned. I've said it from the beginning. I'm not surprised if this divorce is a sham, to be honest with you guys. But Marlo says, I will not be having this discussion with him because he's a man and I'm not going to get involved with no one else's husband, which I think that's fair. And Drew is about to go at it, but then Kenya tells him, let's not do this here. And then some people come and they dance for them, and then the girls dress up in some of that traditional garment that they had and they dance, and that was the way that the trip ended. Obviously, relationships were not healed. Matter of fact, they probably got worse in this trip, but that is what we got for this Portugal trip, season 15 of Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, if you guys thought this was crazy, next week I cannot wait. So, looks like LaToya is going to come over, kind of, clear her name as well, go into it with Kandi. But what I'm interested in is that Miss Cynthia Bailey is in the house. I cannot wait to see that. As far as this episode, you guys, let me know your thoughts about this episode. What do you think about this disastrous trip? What do you think about Drew going at it with Marlo and about Courtney going at it with Kenya? Even if you disagree with me, let me know. I would love to chat with you guys. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.